In survey after survey, I've seen retirees' number one regret is that they didn't retire sooner. Why might that be? Might it be because they think they don't have enough money? What I've done is set up a spreadsheet. That's what we do on this channel. Folks, there's nothing else like it on YouTube. We run numbers for people just to show you where you might be in the future using data for the last 100 years. We figure it's not going to be any worse than the Depression years. So if you can survive returns like the Depression years and not run out of money, we figure you're going to be in great shape. Let's say, for example, somebody has $450,000. They're age 55, and they want to know, can they really retire at age 62 and start taking Social Security? Let's take, for example, somebody that's, according to their Social Security statement, they're going to get $23.50 at age 67. Now that's 7 years from now if they're age 55 and then want to go to age 62. So 55 to 62. Now what's neat thing about Social Security is that 2350 that they're going to get at age 67 is going to grow. We're going to see what the numbers would show. It grows at 2.5% a year, which is the COLA for 2025. So in 7 years from now, they're not going to get 2350 at age 67. They're going to get 2793 at age 67. But again, there it is, age 67. They're only going to get 70% of that, so they're going to get 1955. But we've created this spreadsheet to show you how this might work out. So we're going to put the 2350 in there. This spreadsheet automatically calculates what you would get at age 67, which is 2793. And since you're taking it at age 62, you're only going to get 70% of that, which is 1955. Now look, folks, if they would save $450 a month. Let's just say they can increase that by 3% a year. And let's say their needed expenses are $4,500 a month in today's dollars. Now, in the next 7 years, that's going to grow, and we're going to have it growing at 3% inflation. So instead of this needing $4,500, they're going to need $5,534. Now, if they get this 1955, if they take it at age 62, they would be needing $35.79 from their nest egg. And what we've done is run the numbers for every single year for the last 100 years. These are the actual numbers that we're using. This shows you the returns that you would have had in the last 100 years. And folks, look at this. Look at this. I want you to notice only in the worst case scenario would you run out of money, and then your money would still last you 10 years. Meaning, if you would do this for the next 7 years, say from 55 to age 62, this is how much money you would put in. And the worst case scenario, because you can have down years, you could have a down 7 year period where you had maybe 3 or 4 good years and then 3 or 4 bad years. And again, in the worst case scenario, you'd have a scenario where you'd have this kind of money. And if you start taking out this $35.79 and you increase that by 3% a year, you'd be out of money in 10 years. But folks, that's the worst case scenario. Look at this. This 95% of the time, your money would last at least 32 years. In other words, there's 5% of the time, now last 100 years, there's 5 years if you would have retired during that period of time that your money would run out in 32 years. But again, folks, if you're retiring at 92, 95% of the time you'd make it to at least 94 before you ran out of money. And the 90% of the time your money would last over 40 years. These are the median sums, by the way, going down through here, running the numbers, the highest amount you would have. Again, after 7 years, you could have anywhere from 389,000 up to the median of $1 million. The highest would be 2.143 million. Again, this is using the numbers for the last 100 years. So what's this telling us? It's telling us people oftentimes work way longer than they think because they have $450,000 and they're 7 years from retirement. They think they have to get to $1 million, and they think there's no way they're going to make it to $1 million. And again, folks, look over here. 90% of the time, what would you have after 7 years? You'd have 539,000, and that would actually last you because you're getting Social Security of 2350, and that'd be growing by your COLA. So in other words, you wouldn't be needing that much money from your nest egg because you're getting 23.50 from Social Security. People are working way too long, and that's why they say, "Man, I wished I would have retired sooner. I don't need as much money as I thought because Social Security, because of these amounts here, just because you don't have $1 million, just because 7 years from now you're not going to have $1 million. Don't let that be a deterrent. Only in this case, the worst case scenario, would you run out of money in 10 years. If that happened, yeah, you might have to work a little bit longer, or maybe you could save a little bit more, but nobody knows what the future holds. But I just want people to realize, man, if they just work uh, uh, maybe a little bit longer, if they had this kind of a scenario where they did have some down years, well, look what happens if they just work till age 63. Watch this number change. Now it's lasting 11 years, 64, 14 years. This is the worst case scenario. But did you notice what happened between age 62, where you're running out of money in 30 years? Just 1 year later, your money will be lasting over 40 years, 95% of the time. It's only this 5% that you have a situation where you might be running out of money in less than 40 years. But folks, that's what we do in this channel. I just want people to be happy and enter their retirement so they can enjoy those healthier early years of retirement where you want to go out and do things and you've still got your health. You don't need maybe as much money as you might think. And according to this right here, people's number one regret, they didn't retire sooner. They found out they did have enough money. And if you run into a string where you have some down years, you just cut back a little bit. Maybe don't take out 4,500, maybe take out 4,300. Let's see how that, let's do 4,200. $300 less. That lasted a little bit longer. Again, we shouldn't be looking at this one alone because this is the worst case scenario in the last 100 years. Look at these other numbers, folks. 95% of the time, you have no problem just cutting back a little bit on your expenses. Or if you stay at 4,500 a month, which is what you figure you need, you still got money lasting over 40 years, 95% of the time at age 63, and even at age 62, you're lasting 32 years. Folks, that's what we do on this channel. We just love running numbers, setting up spreadsheets, and using actual historical returns for the last 100 years so you can see what the numbers might show. Don't be one of those that retires thinking they had to work a little bit longer because they didn't reach that $1 million that everybody says you need to have. Maybe you have quite a bit less than $1 million. Look at these numbers again. After 7 years, in this case, you only had 389,000 because you had some down years. You didn't even have what you put in. But look at this, 539,000, and your money would last over 40 years. 606,000, 85% of the time you could have that, and your money would last over 40 years. You don't need that $1 million. Again, this is the key right here. What are your expected expenses and what are you getting from Social Security? You may not need near as much as you might think. Please consider subscribing. Please share this channel with others. Let them know there's a channel out there that will run numbers and look at all kinds of different financial concepts like sequence of returns, risk, what's your asset allocation, and so on. And we set up spreadsheets to run all kinds of different numbers. Thanks so much for watching.